1, Fireside Chat for Educational Leadership, 655, Pupil Services and Non-Discrimination. Week 1 begins on Monday, January 23rd, 2023, and concludes on Sunday, January 29th, 2023. A recap of our orientation between the 9th and the 22nd of January. So make sure that you obtained the course text, School of Errors, Rethinking School Safety in America. Email me by January 28th if you want to be on the same learning team as somebody else. Print off the course calendar that's in the syllabus, as it will help you keep track of the upcoming activities. This class will be busy for the first 7 weeks, and then you have a 3-week research module, and the class wraps up on April 7th. As noted in the syllabus, you'll have the option of a phone call final project. Week 1, Foundations of Pupil Services Programs, and this will center on best interest of the child. It's a term in federal education law, but it is laminated to context and situation. The chapter you'll read in School of Errors. There is a long-standing legal standard that educators should act in the best interest of students, which means teachers have the right to use their discretion to determine what is in the student's best interest. Stefkovich and O'Brien in 2004 contend that there was no clear definition of the best interest of the child. Therefore, teachers and the like must use their discretion to make ethically wise decisions to the best of their ability. The discretion and authority afforded school officials must enhance student rights beyond what is provided for in the U.S. Constitution. The absence of a uniform definition of best interest certainly contributes to the prevailing dearth of inter-rater reliability within the reviewed literature. But the impossibility of pinning down a definition, sometimes it's in their best interest to keep them seated. Sometimes it's in their best interest to tell them to run like crazy, is what mandates teachers free rein. Bagley and Stefkovich also agree that there's no consistent definition of best interest of the child. A content analysis of over 60 law review articles using this term, best interest of the students, or a variation of it, for example, best interest of students, best interest of children, revealed no common theme and no shared use. And so best interest will always be subjective, distilled from individual experiences, biases, perceptions of situations, and dynamic context. Our article, Inclusion and Other Kids. Check out page 6. Hold both school-wide and classroom meetings in which students can express themselves and their perceptions of how things are going. That subjective input is incredibly valuable, and we tend to be very quantitative, looking at numbers. Okay, we did this survey and it came out as a 7.8. Well, what exactly does that mean? So make sure that you're coupling with that qualitative side. Page 6 does a great job of explaining that. Ask, if a student were to start here tomorrow, what should they know? How might they feel about our school? What's their perception about our non-discrimination practices? Timelines of inclusion. Non-discrimination practices have advanced much in America over the past 50 years. Let's not lose track of that. You've participated and contributed in work that has made schools more inclusive and less prone to discrimination. Another article, Working with Third Parties. How do you become aware of third parties' positions on non-discrimination? Third parties coming to school and providing mental health services to students has many benefits, and one is removing the barrier of discrimination due to poverty. Not having the means to transport a child to a therapist setting can be mitigated when those services are brought into the school. You'll find my 2020 keynote presentation. School staff did an amazing job pivoting during the pandemic and working to provide services to all students. Find the positives in people and systems and take the time to amplify them. Post your special education percentages. Your special education director will have this data. It is also what generates IDEA flow-through funding for students with disabilities. Have you observed any disproportionate figures in your data? The NCLD article posted this week revealed that American Indian youth are 1.7 times more likely to be identified as disabled under IDEA, and students who experience 4 or more adverse childhood experiences from the ACEs score have been found to be 32 times more likely to be diagnosed with behavioral challenges. Our Week 1 reflective teaching annotation. Professional development not only needs to be ongoing, but it must be informed by data and not merely what conferences people like to go to. Keep a spreadsheet of all pupil services professional development by category, such as behavioral, autism, reading, math, and then examine it at least twice a year. Attendance and truancy are huge contributors to student outcomes. How might you mitigate habitual truancy? You'll be pressed to make quick decisions, but do not forego due diligence, as most situations are not a crisis. Keep apprised of who has parental rights for educational decisions with divorced parents. Perhaps ask for a standard operating procedure for this from your school attorney. If one parent is incarcerated, that doesn't mean that parent shouldn't be invited to participate in an IEP by phone. And keep advisory groups advisory. Discussion questions. Our first discussion question: how are you educating parents, staff, and students about inclusion, harassment, bullying, and discrimination? And how do you check for understanding? You can make a meaningful difference by doing a simple readability check on your handbooks and your communications to parents. Question number 2, PTOs. Make sure that things are equitable and that local support for one specific school doesn't inadvertently contribute to haves and have-nots. Keep posting, and let's make it a terrific first week of educational leadership. 655.